off-season been for you guys?
Oh, it's been great. We've had a great off season. The weight room stuff's been great. I've gotten out and been able to see the guys do some of the off season training and all the things that they've done, and they've been working hard. And I think primed and ready to go for a fall camp and see how it goes this season.
New strength and conditioning coach Jermaine Carroll. How does he kind of work with guys in your group?
So it's a little different with special teams guys, as you know, just speaking specifically with those guys. But in my career, I've always wanted those guys to do everything that everyone else is doing. During the season, you kind of gear it towards a little more like a quarterback or, for thinking of them as like a baseball pitcher to an extent. But off-season training, I want them getting bigger, faster, stronger, just like everyone else. The only things that him and I will work together on is, in their off-season kicking program, which is, 3 times a week. Once we get after spring ball, it's 3 times a week. We'll strategically pick the days that they're doing that, where it's not a heavy leg day or, a heavy run day and then a leg day or just after one of those. So that's where him and I will work together and pick the best days for them to go out and work.
For like specialists, do you want to try to build up leg strength? Is there things you can do?
Yeah, there's certain things you can do. I mean, a lot of, being a good kicker, there's a couple of different ways to be one. Just kind of like a golfer, it's all about the swing speed. And then if you don't have the swing speed, then you got to have more power. So it's kind of just, either one of those two things. So you can do all those things in the weight room. There's certain lifts that they do. They do a lot of hip mobility, and then again, like for a long snapper, it's very similar to a quarterback workout. You're kind of marrying those two together. But if you're just speaking specifically punting and kicking wise, their extra work is probably just more hip things and, the hip flexors and those quads that they use for kicking.
Do you kind of have any goals going into fall camp or what you want to accomplish with these guys?
Well, a few. I mean, it was really nice last year as, we got the first ever Ray Guy Award winner at USC. And, so I never really have that as a goal going in for them. I just want them to be the best version of themselves. But, it is cool to think of if, USC's never had a Lou Groza. USC's never had the Long Snapper Award of the Year. So we've had the last 2 years, we had the Returner of the Year, and then we had the Ray Guy Award winner. So, potentially, checking those two things off for USC would be a goal of mine for my career, but not so much. That's not something I would push on those guys to you need to do this, do this. I just want them to be the best versions of themselves and let the rest take care of itself. Every time we go out there, I always say to them, we want to be the best specialists on the field that day. And if we're doing that, then I'm fine.
You brought in a transfer kicker. When you're out recruiting, what are you looking for when you're bringing in kickers and punters?
If you're bringing in, speaking specifically to like the transfer portal guys, you want a guy with experience. You want a guy that, has made big kicks in games. And that means not just making kicks in games, because you can, make the argument every kick's a big kick. But, has he made game-tying kicks? Has he made game-winning kicks? How does he handle those scenarios? Has he made 45, 50-plus yard kicks? What kind of range does he have? Does he kick off? What's his percentage of touchbacks? When you look at all those things, and, that was one of the things with Caden. He did a lot of those things at UNLV. And then the bright side for him is he's got 3 years.
Yeah, so that's one we got to get out there. But the touchback thing is, kind of a weapon for you guys before. Like, you feel like that's something to be.
Yeah, so I mean, I was just talking to somebody over there. Like, you look at our kickoff numbers and they weren't great last year, but we only had to cover 10, 12 kicks or something like that. So I'm one of those people. I'm not one of those guys that says, hey, hang this up and let's cover it. I'm like, no, if we can save our guys' legs running down the field, let's save them. Like, kick it 10 yards out the back of the end zone. Michael was, I believe, like 78% touchbacks last year, and then Caden was like in the 60s. So, I mean, he wasn't far off, and he's had a great offseason to build up his leg strength. And you got another guy, Ryan Sierra, that was with me last year. And both of those two guys will be competing in that world and do have the leg to, where there shouldn't be much, if any, drop-off in that world, in my opinion. Now, you never know how they'll handle the pressures when they're new and all those things. But, in my opinion, we should be fine there as well.